Okay, we should be good to start. Is that all right, Agnes?
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody, to today's exclusive webinar on unleashing efficiency with AI-driven best practices, leveraging AI to help optimize sales processes, facilitated by the one and only Agnes Land, VP of Business Development at Change Connect, one of our accredited partners here at the CPSA. Agnes is described as influential and inspirational by her clients and peers and helps organizations grow through change. She has a knack for breaking down complex change and business tactics, leading the way in sales transformation for small businesses and enterprise alike. Agnes has considerable expertise on the assessment, strategy, design, and implementation of business transformations in various industries with a focus on sales, customer-focused business strategies, organizational design, sales efficiency, and transformation. Agnes has consulted for clients in broadcast and media, advertising and marketing, distribution and warehousing, education, manufacturing, professional services, and construction. In this 1-hour session, we will cover the specific advantages and benefits that AI integration can bring into sales processes, how AI can automate routine tasks, freeing up valuable time for strategic activities, key performance indicators for evaluating the impact of AI in sales efficiency. Now, just for some quick housekeeping rules on today's session, kindly note that all attendees have been automatically placed on mute upon entry for a seamless experience today. However, we do encourage active engagement. So should you have a burning question or wish to share your insights, feel free to unmute yourself when prompted or during the designated opportunities. Alternatively, please feel free to use the chat function in your Zoom dashboard throughout the session, and we'll get to your questions for sure in the opportunities at the end. This webinar is being recorded, as mentioned, and the link will be distributed to all CPSA members shortly after the session concludes. To our dedicated professionals on the CPSA designated pathway, we are pleased to inform you that the session qualifies for one professional development unit. Following the session, all participants will receive a personalized certificate of participation, downloadable and shareable on your LinkedIn. Now, without further ado, let's extend a warm welcome to Agnes and let her take the stage.
Hi, everyone. Awesome. I definitely
Hello,
see some
Agnes.
familiar names here. Looking forward to spending the next hour with you guys. But before we start, some quick question around maybe share with me in chat. What's your expectations for spending the next 60 minutes with me, just so that I can better understand how to go about making it a fruitful session for you? Okay. Okay. We have those two for sure. Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay. Very good. Efficiency is okay. Awesome. Okay. Fantastic. Great. So let's have I don't know how many, I know a few of you definitely went on my webinars before, but I'm very informal. If you guys have any questions, drop them off at the chat. Then that way we can sort of address them in real time. We do have quite a bit of material today, just because it is what I would consider a 101 course, where I'm just trying to break you into this topic, because I find that AI gets thrown around a lot, right? And when you talk about AI, there's no real definition. Like I can be using AI this way, and then you can be using AI by definition another way. So I kind of want to have some conversation around what AI means to you as well. I'm going to give you some basic definition, but one that I personally have grabbed onto from, actually was a collision last year. And and of course, last year especially, it was a huge, like every conference a tech conference I went to was an AI conference. And the one definition that I have took with me to today around AI is think of AI as having 1,000 interns, as hiring 1,000 interns. I think that's the best practical way of thinking about AI. Because if you think about it, it gives me a lot of information back, right? In very quickly as well. That's the whole point of AI. But when you talk about the world of AI, the biggest problem we have, aside from cybersecurity and all that other issue, is the fact that there's hallucinations. Hallucination is just a word for fake data, right? So when you think about that, then it's same as intern. An intern can go out there and do a lot of research, but they are unable to process whether this is useful information or not. And at least for today's conversation, I think that's where we're going to. I'm going to talk about a few different type of AI, but at least for today's conversation, the technology you guys will be using will be limiting to that in terms of still having fake data. Like in terms of AI, I always say that, if someone tells you they're an AI expert, they're bullshitting you. The field is moving so fast. What I tell you right now would actually, fully expect it to be outdated in 6 months' time. Okay, so let's have a good conversation. If there's any questions, feel free to let me know. All right, I'm not going to be able to see you guys, so you guys need to let me know if there's any questions, okay? All right. A little bit about me. Ripplin already told you I run I'm a head of sales at Change Connect. We are a sales consultancy that do pretty much all things in sales. We do sales recruiting, sales training, sales strategy, CRM implementation. Now, especially with the CRM implementation, we've added this particular sort of feature around AI implementation as well. So sales compensation realignment, anything that have to do with sales we do. We try to stay away from things that isn't as closely related as sales, but sometimes we get sucked in. But anyways, sales is our main driver here. A few session objectives for you. Number one, which I think is pretty much what you guys mentioned in the chat earlier. Number one, understand the specific advantage and benefit of integrating AI into your sales process. Number two, explore how AI automation can streamline some of the more mundane tasks, so that I can actually spend my headcount on strategic activity, dealing with customer real value. I always say value-added customer touch points. And number three, really trying to figure out, okay, if we were to implement AI, well, how do I know it's successful? So what are the KPI associated to implementing AI in your day-to-day workflow? Learning outcome, of course, I want you to gain insight into the unique advantages of how you implement AI. And in particular, we're going to talk about 10 use cases of how we can implement AI in your work, your day-to-day, like right away. So there's a little bit of that. We're going to talk about the automation of repetitive tasks, which is one of the use case as well. And then I'm going to give you a few ways to measure the success of the outcome. But it's not what you think, because there are leading indicator, same as your regular sales dashboard, right? There are leading indicator around what is it that we're trying to chase after, but also there's lagging indicators of what ultimately is the outcome. And it's not how many user is using AI, right? My ultimate lagging indicator needs to be revenue related or like, we've implemented automation, which is early stage AI automation with one client. Their ratio of like their sales to active customer ratio before they implemented automation was 1 to 40, and then after we implemented automation is 1 to 100. So that's where I want you guys to find the efficiency. And when I say 1 to 100, I fully expect that it is still the white glove service I would have expected at 1 to 440 as well. So far, so good. What you guys signed up for? Let's go. So my first section is around introduction of AI, just so that we can have a level playing field here in terms of what we're talking about in this session in particular. So here's a definition I pulled up. I thought was, you know what, general enough for us to have a conversation today. AI is a capability of a computer and software system that stimulates the ability to reason the way that humans do. Okay, think about that. Okay, that means that we're looking to AI to mirror human activities. Okay, but they are not humans. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to feed them. That's why machine learning is so important. We're trying to feed them enough use cases, enough data points, and allow them to have logic so that they can weed out anything that may not be I guess should not be in the data set to begin with. So there is multiple logic that goes into, and same as our human brain, right? It's not like we're not linear. We make decisions based on events of the past. So that's what we're trying to feed the machine so that it can mimic the human. So a very I'm going to talk a little bit about timeline. I know AI have been, like, we talk about AI now like it's a new thing, but I want to make mention that AI isn't new, right? AI started with Alan Turing at 1950. That's a long time ago, right? That's why there's a test in terms of AI going back to this particular definition. There's something called a Turing test. I don't know if you guys know, but the way that you can dictate or wonder if something is a machine or not, or whether this is a good AI, is whether if you were sitting on the outside of the machine, and if a human is interacting with a robot, let's for this simplicity's sake, let's use the word robot, and when they interact with each other, me on the outside cannot tell that there is a robot involved. And if they pass, that's called the Turing test. And if they can do that, that means that AI, that machine, pass, like it is a mature AI product, okay? Or AI model. So when you think about it, that's how kind of we determine whether it's AI machine learning or not. Now, 1950, they started the concept contextually, right? This is what he's trying to do. He's trying to mimic human intelligence. In 1960, 70, there's some initial conversation, initial ways of trying to get this done. And there's some early development around natural language processing. And that's when we have our first chatbot. Now, 1960 and 1970, starting from 1950, that's 30 years. When you think about it, and this is the same as the Industrial Revolution, nothing really, really happens if this exists inside an academic domain. 1980 is when it first take off because there's some commercial interest around how can a computer, how can robots help design an electric engineering circuit. That was actually its first, not first, but one of the first commercialization use of an AI tool. And that's when it started taking off, because as you do that, when companies start pumping money into these logics, into these models, into AI, that's when they realize that this actually can be commercialized. Now, in the 1990s, if you think about internet, right? The internet actually hadn't been around for that long. 1990 is when internet really started to boom. And now with the AI practice, it went through this weird phase around, what to do, how to use AI within this context now. IBM sunk a lot of cash into development during that time. That we call it the deep blue. But honestly, in my opinion, it was slow. It was slow to develop. Maybe the technology is not mature enough yet. Maybe it's just not ready. sunk a lot of cash in that era. Then if you think about 2000, that's actually when it started taking off. It's talk about there's now technology around deep learning, around big data, because you do have to crunch those data, right? Because they're trying to find pattern to predict future patterns. So now there's also an ability to do so. And it started off with like a big, one of the earlier chatbots, or it's an IBM Watson, right? If you ask this question, you answer this question with natural language. That's one of the first, like now chatbots is on everyone's website, right? But Watson is kind of where it first started. Now, moving forward to where we are today, right? We're using a lot of these machine learning, big data, and these natural language processing technology. So allow us to have what we do today, the chat GPTs, the Claudes, things like that, that allows us to find that what I'm talking about, the 1,000 interns, right? That's where the efficiency lies. Now, let me try to see you guys again. Show of hands. How many of you guys are using some sort of an AI tool in your day-to-day operation? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. Not too bad. All right, well, let's talk about not. Okay, for the guys that are not using it at all, I hope one of the lessons learned today and one of your biggest takeaway is to try to use something, because there are a lot of AI technology that's even free at the moment because they're still collecting data, right? So there's really no reason. Like I can tell you even a use case for us internally. We write a lot of reports. We're consultants, right? We write a lot of reports. And sometimes the quality of the work have nothing to do with how long it's taking, right? The thought is in your head, but the words may not be coming out appropriately. So ever since we start using AI to refine our writing, of course, I was at an AI conference a couple of weeks ago, and it's the most beautiful way of talking about it. You have to think about your AI chatbot like you're building a relationship with them. Okay, it's not like you write one prompt and you expect the perfect answer to come back. That's actually not how you're supposed to be using your Siri, your Alexa, your Chat GPT. That's actually, you're supposed to develop the relationship with them. The reason why you're developing the relationship with them, keeping in mind, is because they are learning from you. They're learning from you, right? So if you don't tell them about you more, how can they learn from you? So you are the better models will come from when you share more, you're giving them the feedback more, like you're talking to your interns, right? Then next time they come back with things that are a little bit more suitable to what you're looking for because they've learned from your last transaction. So far, so good? Okay, now, when we talk about AI, we talk about, generally, we talk about 3 types of different AI. So number 1 is what we call narrow AI, which is what we're going to focus on today, which is narrow AI. Some people call it weak AI. Then there's general AI, which is what people call strong AI, and then there is super intelligent AI, which is ASI, which I'm going to leave that completely out. So narrow AI is generally what you'll be using. Weak AI, it is stuff that is the model is built or the app is built for particular purposes to drive particular outcomes. So for example, maybe your virtual assistants like the Siris or the Alexas, right? It could be, if you think about Netflix, how many of you guys have Netflix, right? So you know how Netflix is able to predict what other things you might like. That's also an AI. So if you input, we were just talking about that as a use case the other day. If you input more information, like let's say, for example, you keep watching 30-minute comedy shows, it will train itself to tell you or recommend more 30-minute comedy shows for you. Maybe that we're also talking about, if you watch a comedy movie, Then maybe you chunk it out into various different, maybe 30 minutes at a time. It will also know to come back to you with some suggestion around the 30-minute duration, because it's learning that you can only intake 30 minutes of content at any given time. But that's and then spam filter, you guys know that there is particular way of interacting with your AI by asking them to do one specific thing. The most common AI, and that's actually where I want you guys to think about and spend your when we talk about efficiency in sales, that's all I'm talking about today. General AI, strong AI is a little bit more, and ASI is a little bit more futuristic. When we think about movies that talk about machines and robots and AI having their own mind, that they can conquer the world, that's what they're talking about. ASIs, they can make their own decisions, but we're not really talking about that. At least in today's world, we don't have the sophistication for that to be in actual practice yet. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about AI in sales. That's why you guys are here. So this is, this answers a few of the questions that were thrown at me earlier this morning around, well, what are the benefits of AI? Like, how do we even go about dibbling and dabbling into this world to begin with? So I've broken it down. I mean, there's more than this, but I broke it down into 3 buckets of categories so you guys can think about how to take your first step. Now, first things first is what you guys mentioned earlier. I want to drive efficiency in sales, efficiency and productivity. So in that category, there's a few things. Number 1, automation of repetitive tasks. Okay, how do we find pattern such that repetitive tasks can be now run by my machines? Number 2 is time saving, right? If they're able to predict, or if I'm able to schedule, that's another thing. If I'm able to schedule, then I don't have the same rep going back to outreach to my client 7 times. It's already scheduled, or the AI already knows that if there's no reply, then this is what I'm going to reply with. So they already know. And actually, a classic use case, I was at the Salesforce Dreamforce Salesforce conference last year, and one of the demo around AI is actually quite brilliant. Is that it was a demo around Canada Goose. So there's this lady that I guess returned her down jacket 10 months ago, and the reason for that was like a wrong color, something not product quality related. This person in the Salesforce database already have a few data points because they are a loyal customer. So they already track that this lady is a what they call gold tier customer that potentially would spend $2,391 per year, right? And they also are able to calculate the lifetime value of this lady as well. Now, this lady just went online to look at another jacket. Now it's winter again. So they look for another jacket, and they're having this conversation with a chatbot. And right away, the chatbot was able to pull all these data from historical data, her customer lifetime value, her annual spend, her the fact that she returned a jacket earlier 10 months ago, was able to categorize some sort of a gold customer tier type. So right away, within seconds, they were able to actually generate this dialogue or email that comes back and say, hey, notice you returned your gray jacket. I guess you didn't like it 10 months ago. Now let us look for another jacket for you. Looks like you went on our website and looked for this blue jacket, really on trend. As a loyal customer incentive, we're going to give you a 10% discount code to help you, whatever, to reward you as a loyal customer. And then the customer service rep was able to see this draft message out to them, and then all my customer representative had to do was review. Yeah, that looks right. Within 30 seconds, that note went back out to the customer. Now, if you think about what it would take normally for a human customer service representative to do it, that email would have took at least 15, 20 minutes to write. That's why having proper data set within your whatever it is, HubSpot, Salesforce, Outreach, wherever it is, your central repository for information is so important because that's what AI grab onto. They're unable to come up with a customer lifetime value if you don't have all the data inside the platform, right? And here as well, optimize resource allocation. There's not in Salesforce, but we also have some clients on field service technologies. And there, they're able, if you put down how many projects, where they need to be, someone needs to be in Brampton, someone needs to be in Calden, someone needs to be in Kitchener, they will actually optimize the route of their electricians. And they are able to also simulate workload balancing of who should be what. And if you make this decision on, oh, if Dominic needs to be on this project, how is his current project going to be affected? So a lot of those simulation can actually now be at your fingertip, where before you have to process the information. The key isn't the fact that you get to the end goal. You would have got to the end goal regardless. Is getting to the end goal faster without hiring that labor, and that your labor is used to spend on real value added activity. Now, going back to my second bucket, which is my personalization and customer experience bucket, which, if you think about it, is technically my value added bucket where I will actually want my customer touch point to be. Even here, you can leverage the technology or AI technology to come back with tailored communication, which is like my Canada Goose example. We also talk about better enhanced engagement, right? Better engage if you know your stats around prospecting. You know, the sooner you reply to your customer's inquiry, the more likely you are going to close that deal, right? There's statistics to back that up. 24-hour reply means this, 40-hour reply means this, 7 days replies means chances of closing is unlikely. So that also bridges that real-time need to communicate, right? Which is, I always say, is largely due to Amazon, because now we don't wait for anything. But that's not all the ends all. It allows us to have better quality customer satisfaction. Some more customer service related technology there as well for you. And then last but not least, the bucket I like, which is an important one, is if you think about all that we do, of course, we try to push the activity so that we can close the deal. But ultimately, at the leadership level, we want to look at the data. We want to be able to make good predictive analysis so that we can move the company forward. So allowing us to have better forecasting, more accurate forecasting, and really having a proactive customer retention strategy when we look at customer insights. This is a very interesting period because technically traditional means have brought us to think about, the leaky bucket theory, where it means any given year in any given industry, now this is agnostic, is around 17, no matter how hard you work at it, you're going to lose 17% of your customers. Okay, some industries better than other, but sure, average is 17%, even if you're doing the bang on job. So now if that's the case, the whole data analytics side allows us to figure out which 17% is it and have a strategy around those 17%. And if we can, let's say not 17%, let's say we're still able to retain 7 of that 10%. Then, because the cost of acquisition normally is more than the cost of retaining customer. Then if that is the case, I just brought down my overall operating costs. So far, so good? Okay. Okay. Now, specific use cases that I think you can actually start. Actually, going back, I remember what I was going to talk about now. Here, okay. I get asked this question a lot. is, Agnes, yeah, I want to implement AI. Where do I buy AI? Okay, or how do I buy AI? Okay, for where you are today, I would, it's not you go buy AI. We're not you're not running big data models. You're not trying to teach machine how to live. That's not why you're in business. So I would suggest, like all these logos in the bottom, AI would be in some of the tools that would work with you daily already. But let's say Salesforce is a classic one. You need to be at a certain tier of licensing level to activate certain AI features. Okay, so if you're already using technology like Salesforce, HubSpot, Outreach, reach out to your rep and see and get them to demo or have a run through with you around where the AI technology is, what are some AI features that you should be leveraging, because it should be inside most of, I won't say most, as maybe 50% of the technology, the sales technology will have some sort of quote unquote AI features. You just have to now harness what's inside already. So far so good, because I think only 6 of you put up your hand around whether you're using AI at all. And I really want you guys to take that first step. It is, I know half of my audience generally is scared of AI. The other half is excited about AI. I don't know how it is today with you guys, but if I'm not promoting AI, I wouldn't be here. I truly do think that you can't get around it. Like, yeah, so my suggestion is going to be to embrace it. The sooner you embrace it, the sooner you find that competitive advantage and you enjoy that competitive advantage early. If you shy away from it, I personally don't think it will go away. And if it doesn't go away now, you're 5 years behind, especially in the AI world. If you're 5 years behind, you're light year behind in productivity. So you might as well just jump in with both feet and then ride the wave and make sure that you can grab onto the efficiency. A few different use cases here in terms of how AI can help. Number one, predictive insights. So like I mentioned, leverage the data set and allow AI to make predictive sales trends for you to identify. Right now, generally, is identify the high potential leads or optimize resource allocation. Okay, the high potential leads into my next conversation too, which is personalized engagement. Those go hand in hand because as the customer shows you that they are engaged with, let's say, your newsletter, let's say they're engaged and they're emailing you back within 24 hours, all those are counted as signals. The customer, what the machine is learning is it's learning from the customer, their behavior, and then they're able to put a score around how hot is this lead. So that's where the predictive insight and the personalized engagement comes in, is so that it goes hand in hand as to how you can gauge the readiness to buy from a customer. The personalized engagement, like I just mentioned with that Canada Goose example, I always expect my my client-facing staff to tailor every one of their conversations. I hate cut and paste. Partially is because number one, people on the other hand is not stupid, right? They're going to know that it's cut and paste. So if you're going to cut and paste, you might as well just not cut and paste because they would think that you didn't put any effort in. So how do you personalize the message but minimize the time spent? That's where AI can also help. And here, especially, there are technology that you can use, maybe even Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, where you can, I wouldn't put customer information on ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT is public. you want to make sure that you have a private GPT where you can actually dump in customer information so that you can get appropriate response based on historical record. Salesforce is leaps and bounds in terms of that area, in terms of having insights from generating from existing customer interactions. Next, we have automated processes. So automate those repetitive tasks. I love this particular way of managing and using my AI, because let's say I go in for a particular sales call, and if it's up to me, like the old way is, okay, well, I'm going to task myself 3 days to follow up, 7 days to follow up, 8 days for a phone call. And then I will put task so that I can open my task as a salesperson. Then I'll just run through my task list for the day. But the new way of doing it is to automate those already. If they don't reply, right, the machine already will send out my follow-up email. So no longer am I expected to spend, even if it's 5 minutes to do the task, that 5 minutes is eliminated because it's already automated and those emails is ready to go as long as it doesn't disrupt that workflow. As a matter of fact, the automated process is so smart that even if it's disrupted the workflow, they'll be able to read your reply back and it's ready to go with the next set of emails based on their reply back. That's actually where the technology is already. So, and that's all. I'm going back to my 1 to 40 active cases versus 1 to 100 active cases, because you're able to do that. It does, although I have to say, have its limitations. So let me bring up a Air Canada use case. So back, they said Remembrance Day 2022, there was this customer that went online that they need a bereavement airfare. And the chatbot was smart enough to say, if you need it in real time, just buy the ticket, send an email request back to whatever, fare refund, Air Canada, whatever, email, and they will refund you. Just buy it in full, buy the full price now and get going with the need that you need to travel. So they came back after, whatever it is, to come back, and Air Canada actually wouldn't honor that refund. They said, well, the chatbot told you, but on the website, it clearly states that you can't come back to ask for a refund. You have to deal with the special discount on the spot before you buy. So now there was a lawsuit around whether it is Air Canada's fault or the client misread the rules around it. And the court deemed that Air Canada is actually responsible for the word that came out of the chatbot's mouth. So you'd also think about if you are ready to let your AI do your talking for you, then your AI better be trained well, because you are responsible of what comes out. Okay. There's also performance tracking, of course, real-time insight on what's going on, decision making on the optimization. There's also customer insight. This is important around customer preferences. They can actually they can compare this group of customer who you're talking to and relate it back to historical segmentation of this particular group of customer and be able to predict how to sell this better. It's very, very useful if you're a salesperson, because then you're not thinking about strategizing every time, right? Especially if you think about the automation and the email can already be generated. I mean, I have a client that just generate and then you review, you send out, or actually automatically send for you. And the touch point and the white glove service that we strive to have now becomes that much easier. Lead scoring is another one. If you're not using lead scoring, you really should be, because you should have an algorithm as to understand which customer is priority versus others. based on customer lifetime value, based on their behavior and interaction with you, based on their time and priority and them wanting to talk to you. There should be a leading scorecard that leads to, because one of the indicator of how much sales we can do is closing up the lead time to a deal. So things like this would definitely close your lead time to deal. Sales forecasting, I have to rush. I think I'm about too much content today. Sales forecasting to understand historical sales data, going back and then generating new forecasts of what that should be. Guys, we shouldn't blindly put 20% growth in there. What is the strategy around that? So I love using this for sales forecasting, but I also want to put the human touch because the machine cannot predict that. Let's say I want to open a new office in UK. They would never know. I've never done an office. I've never gone outside Canada before. So things like that need to be taken into consideration. Love dynamic pricing, actually. If you think about AI real-time changing pricing strategy, airlines, hotel rates, there's no way we would react fast enough so that we can optimize the price band, but AI can. So what is that pricing? It can still get the AI to prompt you for the price change, but it's already done the legwork for you rather than you doing it yourself. Okay. Chatbot and virtual assistant is pretty popular right now, so that the client can actually have real-time answer. Right? I love my dentist because they use chatbot for us to cancel. And if you think about, canceling a dentist appointment, is not always between the hour to 9 to 5, right? So now all of a sudden you're that much more attentive to your customer because you have a chatbot that deals with the 5 to 9, anything that comes up with your customer, and your customer have a peace of mind. Last but not least, upsell and cross-sell recommendation. I love this one as well. If you implement upsell, cross-sell recommendation with an AI, immediate increase in average deal size. Just because if you think about what a salesperson physically have to do every day, cross-sell, upsell may not be on top of their mind. So, but if it's fed to me, people that, in this case, you can also sell this as well. Generally, they go in a package. Then it's much easier. Oh, you know what? This other thing I forgot to tell you earlier. It just rolls off at their tongue because it's top of their mind, rather than you allowing a salesperson or needing a salesperson to initiate that thought. Okay, I'm going to take a small break. I know I don't have much time, but I'm going to take a small break here just to see any feedback from you guys. How do I take you guys off? Anything of the last 10 cases I put, anyone in particular that you guys think you can implement?
And feel free to take yourself off mute if you'd rather.
Maybe in the chat? Yes, I just see Soho. Soho is fantastic as well. Copilot is, think of Copilot. The easiest way for me to think about Copilot is building your own GPT. So you technically is supposed to learn your own your content as well as use public content. Okay, yes, definitely investigate into AI options with the existing foundation. Perfect. Okay. Let me see. Okay, I'll see if I can plow through the rest. Guys, you can always add me on LinkedIn. I'm like one of 3 Agnes Lands in the world. So if you have any questions, and if we don't get to all your questions today, just message me, and I'm an open book in this area. Let's see. In other areas, so if you think about AI in other areas, there's obviously what I just talked about in AI for sales, right? But there's also upstream and downstream implication of AI that relates to sales, like in marketing, right? If Gen AI is so super awesome, if you think about ability for them to understand my brand and generate, ads, words, characters, photos that allows us to be even that much more engaging with our customer to fill the top of the funnel. And customer service, same idea. Something as simple as Grammarly, right? Really fixing my language. Sometimes you don't think of that as AI, but it is AI. It's helping you. It's helping you to have a quicker response to your customer that's error-free, which is important. Okay? Identifying and implementing AI. I love this example. So I leverage this example. If you think about AI, right? User-only AI. Let's think about getting to the White House. Hot topic lately. I learned what it takes to be a president for me, right? I plan out my campaign, I fundraise, I go out and defend my policy, I go out, I want to be a president, right? If I am supported by an AI, what would happen? Well, AI can do the research for me of what it takes to be a president. I'm going to take that background research. I'm going to come up with my plan. I'm still going to fundraise. I'm still going to defend my policy. I'm still going out to my constituent. Next, if you think about AI supported by users, this is very interesting. Now I reverse the role, right? AI does the research, but AI is also going to come up with the campaign. Now I'm only going out to do I always say the shake hand, kiss baby roles. Okay. Next is AI supervised by user. Now I'm letting AI do its own thing, right? AI does the research, AI come up with the campaign. AI can actually carry out most of my campaign on my behalf. And I become the president. And of course, there's an AI only, the tease you guys a little bit there. But here, if you think about the progression of my relationship with my AI, it can actually go very far if you allow it to. I always go back to my clients, right? Think about where is your value add. AI has some value add around data, but no one can replace those shake hand, kiss baby rules, right? AI is not going to come out and shake hand and kiss baby. That's not where the warm and fuzzy is. And still to today, business is done with the warm and fuzzy, right? People buy from people. Make sense? So that you have to see where AI can support you and where you should come back in and take the rein. Now, a few things to be worried about. I alluded to it a little bit earlier, right? Is there are some biases around fair, unfair decisions. And the shitty part about using AI for what we use it for is the model is so sophisticated and the data is from public domain, private domain. You don't even know where the data is coming from, that you're like, okay, I'm going to blindly trust what you're throwing at me, but I have no idea how you came to that conclusion. That worries me a little bit. Okay, I was watching a YouTube, actually TED Talk yesterday, and it's very interesting. AI. So there was this article about how this professor was in the scandal around I think it was a sexual assaulting his students, and it is so real that the professor did this. But when you look at how the AI came to that conclusion, it pulled from like some sort of like a Wall Street Journal around this. Like there's a few actual references to how the misconduct of this professor. But when you actually look at what happened, the professor didn't do anything. That is scary. That is where AI governance comes in. That's where AI security comes in. So as much as I trust AI and I'm an advocate for AI, there's a few things that's still unsettling for me. There's also the data security piece. If you're dumping in so much data in there, how do I know? How do I know that the data is the sensitive data is being protected, right? So there's quite a bit going on with cybersecurity lately, with our government right now too, because of the progression of AI. How would our governance take extra care so that our data is protected? There's also the development cost, right? The cost benefit of using AI. One thing to use something that will leverage features, one thing to build out your AI altogether. But if you think about the most, I would say the most successful use case for using AI is Uber. If you think about the way that they run surge pricing, if you think about surge pricing as the feature or the AI model that is the foundation of Uber being so special, then that surge pricing model is billions of dollars, right? So there's the relation of the benefit cost of building out something like that. Data quality and availability, sometimes you don't have all the data, complexity, integration, as well as change management. I think, like I mentioned, every time I run these AI talk, I still have half the room. As much as you guys signed up for this, I still have the half the room that is not fully embracing this world, want to know. I think it's more like fear or fear of the unknown than it is that you guys don't want to embrace it. I would imagine you guys sign up for these talks, you guys want to embrace it, but there is still, I think, not enough information to the general public to make it not fearful. So there's a little bit of that to take into consideration. 5 tips of getting started. I think that's what everyone want to talk about today. Number 1, do your research. Define what the goals are, select an AI solution that you want to do, pilot it, and then make sure that we develop the competency, not on the AI side, but on the people side as well. Now that my people is a little bit more free up, how can they provide value-added services to my customers? Couple more examples for you here as well. Now, I was like, okay, what if I want to implement a company-wide sales playbook for AI? So make sure we understand what's the objective, clear objective for this particular AI implementation, understand the data and infrastructure that needs to go into it, develop the talent and resources. Like I mentioned to you, that pilot is very important, and then the governance and the monitoring of it. Same idea, AI in sales playbook, and then KPI associated. If we're trying to do customer acquisition cost, what is the conversion rate? What is the average deal size, cycle length, customer retention? Extra use cases you guys mentioned, a very well-known one is a Honeywell use case. Traditionally, they use a traditional forecasting method, and they realized it was inaccurate and in its prediction and unable to really allocate the resource appropriately. So Honeywell actually partner with an AI implementation firm to get a better handle on the tool and allowing them to have more accurate forecasting. So as a result, better forecasting, better pipeline management, and definitely based on that, more team efficiency. Salesforce is another one as well. You think Salesforce have Salesforce's problem, right? Salesforce sales reps struggle to identify the most promising leads, and then they waste time and resources on leads that may or may not be as promising. So the Salesforce AI tool is called Einstein. So Salesforce implemented Einstein to run through the data for better predictability of lead quality. They claim that based on just running Einstein in that area of their business, they actually were able to help the rep close 13.1% faster. Under Armour, same thing. I did not that many minutes left. Different type of technology. This is a quick logo scan. There's definitely a lot more. There's a lot of AI activity right now. Everyone's coming up with some AI tool. The key is for you guys to sort of have those conversations with the vendors that you guys are already working with, and then see what technology or what use case can be used here. Start small, one use case at a time, allows you to really dive not scare the team in implementation and dive into using AI. Success metric. Okay, so if you dive into AI, so what, right? So you want to be able to define some of that metrics. And I always say, number one, look for effectiveness. Otherwise, why we're doing it. You want to also drive accountability, and you want a more informed decision-making process. Okay, really trying, bottom line is, I don't want, like, this is not implementing ERP. Okay, it's not, oh, how many users is in the system. Ultimately, as much as I care for how many users in the system, I also care for the business impact. So before you start an AI implementation journey, really ask yourself, what is it that you're chasing after in terms of a business impact, and really quantify why you really need it. I have no, like, there's never a time that I'm not able to quantify an AI implementation, because it is just so powerful. Even just the number of hours a day that we save, that's generally sufficient enough for the cost of implementation. But I'm even more greedier when I talk to you guys about it. It's not just human resource and labor cost. I also want to talk about revenue growth. I want to talk about customer satisfaction, really focus on the right North Star here. There's a couple more CPSA webinars coming up. No budget, no problem. There is one on April 24th, which is next week. And then there's another one on May 8th around the predictor unpredictable. That one's a good one. So I hope you guys were able to join us at those events. Sorry, guys, it was a very heavy deck. But I hope you guys got some stuff out of our conversation and spend time with me today. Brooklyn, back to you.
Maybe we'll do part 2 for this, Agnes.
There's so much in this
That
area.
was really, really great, and some fantastic comments from our audience today. One question that Hamid has is, can you suggest any AI tools to make sales presentations?
Okay, there is, I think it's called Beautifully AI, something like that. I will, you know what? I'll give you a couple when I come, and I'll send it to Riplin. My only concern, I have to say, I've tried a couple of those, and it's good for a first draft, but I think there still needs some human touch beyond that. Like I mentioned to you guys, treat it like they are interns, and then your expectation is not as high.
I think that's a that's a really good way to kind of understand that most things do need a human touch and do need kind of that human element at the end of the day. AI can give you that preliminary version of what you need, but it is important to implement your own outlook. For now, I wanted to thank Agnes for presenting on this very, very fun topic. As she mentioned, there's nothing to be afraid of when it comes to this, but it's knowing how to use it in the appropriate ways to use it for your own sales capabilities. For Eric, yes, and for the questions that we have on the recording, yes, all members will receive a link to this recording. It will be a YouTube link that is unlisted, so feel free to head on over to that link when you receive your certificate as well, and you'll be able to rewatch this over and over again. I want to wish everybody a fantastic day. Agnes, especially you, thank you so much for all of your hard work on this, and thanks to everybody for spending time with us today. We'll see you next week for next week's webinar. Thanks again, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everyone.